Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Yo, that's so angry, guys.
Nope.
Hey, that's pretty good.
What's up, everybody? Hey, we are really close. Do we feel close to you? Hold on a second. This is not
this way.
God damn. All right. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to DCTV. It is September 13th, 2022. The market is getting absolutely crushed right now. We were watching the CPI, before 8:30 rolled around. The markets, they were up. The Dow was up 200 points. It's now down 434 points on a CPI print that nobody was happy about. We saw some interesting numbers out of that. We're going to get into that. What do we know? What could we expect? Plus all kinds of other good things. Well, maybe not good things.
Well,
If
you were ready for it, they're good things.
Yeah, if you were ready for it, they're definitely good things. But I was referring to some things regarding the railroad strike. Gonna be impactful. Obviously not great amongst all kinds of other headlines. But it's so crazy to me, man. Let's bring in Tamp and Greg. What's up, guys? It's so crazy to me that whenever I feel like there's nothing to talk about in the morning, like it's just like shotgun.
What do we cover now? Jesus.
That was a weird visual.
That'll be a screenshot and a meme later.
That was an uncomfortable visual. Yeah, we need to.
That will be a meme later.
I just did it again. So inflation numbers, guys. Inflation rose 0.1% August, even with the sharp drop in gas. You guys know that we saw gas prices in June that were an upwards of $5 a gallon on average in the U.S. And they've come down to like 3.25 here in North Carolina. But it wasn't enough.
Correct.
But it wasn't
how
enough.
Did it happen also is what concerns me. Is how did it happen? Actually, we were consuming our own reserves.
Yeah,
strategic reserves.
Yeah,
to do this.
Referring to the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and that there hasn't been any clear supply solution to the supply versus demand issue, and it's going to get even worse as sanctions continue to get imposed on Russia come December. We've talked about that quite a bit, and we actually touched on it a little bit yesterday. But yeah, this is going to be something that continues to be a problem. I'm actually a little bit surprised. I thought we were going to see a pretty significant drop off, and I'm not alone in that. I'm not the only one in that camp. There's a lot of economists and analysts that thought that we would see a pretty decent drop. Not that there was going to be go from 8% down to 3 or 2, which is what the Fed is aiming for. But to see it actually go up was a bit alarming, especially with the drop in oil.
Yes, and we actually witnessed everything green hitting certain ceilings metrics that we have on the charts, and then seeing that flip. Watching the 5-minute chart was just scary. I'm like, what the hell is that? There it is. It looks like then I realized it was the 5-minute chart, but it is an impressive turn of events when you start seeing it where it was, and the minute it was announced the 5 minutes, you see this drop.
Now explain to people why Bitcoin is dropping because of a CPI print. Why would Bitcoin drop off like this?
Because it's still considered a risk on asset by the traditional markets. So if I may, I'll jump on to
Sure.
we reversed it. And let me show you, everyone, what we're looking at in Bitcoin. So what you're seeing this morning before the announcement, Brad and I were speaking of, let me zoom it in. There we go. How Bitcoin was above the 50 moving average right before we were speaking. And if we closed here at the end of the month above this, now we have a floor, but it didn't. Now it's retracing back. Now it's a lot more evident in the weekly chart. In the weekly, you can
Weekly
actually,
chart. Yeah.
it is very clear what just happened. We were reaching up to the next Fibonacci line.
Yeah. Zoom into that because there's a
Yeah.
candle wick right there that goes almost and touches it.
Almost touch it. And this morning,
Yeah.
right before the announcement,
Yep.
it was right here. It was green. So I'm like, okay, we'll hit it. We'll see if it crosses or drops below. Clearly is dropping below. So now we're looking at the next bottom, if this continues, to 18,700 more or less. And if that breaks, now we're looking on the monthly side to the floor of the 13.8 after we pass a couple of these floor weekly levels. So, and of course, looking at Don Fran's strategy, he looks at zones. Here, we're just looking at the macro, what's happening, and give me a chart, and I can tell you the news. It's almost incredible how the charts predict what's coming. And in this case, the CPI comes out as we're reaching that ceiling, and now it's reversing. We'll see where it takes us from here.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty crazy moves.
But to answer your question, it's a risk on asset from traditional markets. It's a technology. It's looked as a technology stock.
So my thoughts on this was that yes, it's a risk on asset, and I think I'm not going to take anything away from that. But could you also make the argument that interest rate hikes have something to do with this as well?
Less people. The interest rate hikes affects everything in the economy. Absolutely.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because you hear many times about how Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation, and when interest rates go up, that is expected to create deflation. And so when deflation is being created, wouldn't that then bring the value of Bitcoin down? Is that off base?
It should. It's how the market is looking at Bitcoin at the moment. Once we enter a macroeconomic meltdown, that's when we should see the delinking, because now there's an asset that is not part of it's a deflationary asset.
Yeah.
The key is adoption. People to understand it. And finally, the market realized, okay, this is a hedge against it. It was created during the last meltdown of the market. So it's a good point. It's still looked at as a risk on asset. So it's following the markets like NASDAQ instead of acting for its intent, how it was created.
Gotcha.
So we're going to have a meltdown for Bitcoin's, true premise to really show. Is that what?
I think, yes. So regulation has to come through for sure first, so everybody can gain access, at least in the States. Outside of the States, it's has a different use. For example, Argentina, countries that really have terrible inflation and where it's just Bitcoin is a better hedge against their own economies or their own fiat. So that's what may have to happen for Bitcoin in the United States to be looked at as a hedge. Right now, it's tied to the traditional markets. Whatever the traditional does, there's a relationship with what's happening with Bitcoin. It's because it's seen as a technology stock,
Right.
say, or asset, not the purpose of it, which is anti-inflationary.
Yep. And Don makes a good point with his comment that big money needs buyers to sell to. News events are great for bringing the crowd in. He's right. And to Jaime's point, where I think you're really going to see a separation of Bitcoin from what the dollar does as a true hedge against inflation is just with more education, right? Like a lot of people in the US do not understand Bitcoin as a hedge. They see it as a tech stock. The news says it moves as a tech stock. People call it software. They see it as tech right now. That is the general population in the US. That is their education. So kind of as Jaime was saying, once more education comes in and people realize what the true power of Bitcoin is and how it really is better than gold, it is certainly better than fiat, then I think it will start acting more like a hedge against inflation. But you need the news to bring the everyday man in to then learn what Bitcoin really is. Right now we're so early, people say, well, Bitcoin's just tech, right? It's just tech. So they treat it as such. So I think, Greg, that's where you'll see a true unlinking is with more education.
And proof of that is what's happening globally. The economies that are melting away with inflation, like rampant inflation.
Yeah.
Who's taking over or who's used as a asset trusted more is Bitcoin over, let's say, Venezuela, Argentina, and all these other economies that have had meltdowns, because now they realize Bitcoin has year over year growth despite these fluctuations of the market.
Yeah, I love what Dr. J says here as well. Education with Bitcoin, but also education on what money is and why fiat it needs a hedge. This all kind of goes back to just financial literacy as a whole. You know, I mean, if people actually understood this, I think that there certainly would be a lot more adoption. And you know, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother show. But 100% agree with that.
Yeah, and Michael Saylor said that best. He said there's no person on earth who has spent 100 hours researching Bitcoin that does not own it. So in understanding Bitcoin, you do have to go back to the origins of money and the technology of money and how we went from seashells, all the way to digital currency today. Why do we have problems with our paper money, right? You get all that in understanding what Bitcoin is and why it is so hard of an asset.
Yeah. So just to kind of get back to like how this impacts your investing, if you guys are in Bitcoin or if you're in traditional stocks, what can we expect from this? So we just got, if I see some people just rolling in, so make sure you hit that like button as you walk in through the door, guys. If you're enjoying the stream so far, we certainly would appreciate it. But what I would like to add to this is, whether you're in Bitcoin or whether you're just hanging on to Apple stock, what have you, how is this going to impact things moving forward? There's a couple of other catalysts that we are going to actually be talking about this morning. One of them being the major strike that could be impacting the economy from the railroad services. But what I will say here is that aside from all of that, we also have the Fed. We've heard from the Fed that they were planning on raising rates 75 basis points, depending on what kind of data they received. This will be the third consecutive 75-point rate hike that we will be seeing from them. And based off of the numbers that we saw today, I don't think that we're going to see anything different from them. I think 75 is something that makes a lot of sense. What I also will say to that is that it's going to impact stocks, and that's why we're seeing everything drop right now. Last time we saw that 75 basis point rate hike priced in, we saw the SPY down here around 390. This is the S&P ETF. Right now, the SPY is at 401. I think right here is where I was talking about 390 could be where that 75 basis point increase could be priced in at. The reason we saw the move up, and this is just me theorizing, I think the reason that we saw this move up over the last 4 trading days was because so many people thought that we were going to be seeing a lighter CPI print and that perhaps that 75 basis point rate hike would be off of the table. So I think now what makes some sense is that just pricing in that 75 basis point could bring us down to 390. But Tamp, Greg, Jaime, there's more to come, unfortunately. And so I think that there is reason to be a bit risk averse right now. One of those big reasons is because, as I mentioned before, we're seeing a potential strike impact the railroad services. And one big reason for that is because of actually, I'm going to pull this up. One big reason is because of the wages. So inflation, wages have not caught up with inflation. And now the railroad workers, they're fed up. They want a 14% increase in wages, in salary. Not only that, but apparently there's been a lot of complaints about the work environments as well. And that it is what is being described as corporate terrorism by some of the union workers. So this could be really impactful, and this could also crush the stock market as well. You put inflation in there, and then this is going to impact 30% of the supply chain. This is going to cost the economy $2 billion per day if this strike does take place. Interesting stuff. Did you guys have a chance to check this out?
Yes. And
yes,
Tam, please.
Man, I could go off about unions, and I'm allowed to go off because I was in one in my former career, the good, the bad about them. But part of me, I'm torn on this. Part of me wants to avoid this because there's nothing good that's going to come out of this, especially right before the holiday seasons. And, we're already in an energy crisis, a gas crisis as it is. So part of me wants to avoid this. The other part of me is like, burn it down. The other part of me is like, let's see what Brandon does about it. Right. I mean, I mean, really, like you gotta let things get to rock bottom before you have real change. Otherwise we're just kicking the can down the road. Right. And I know I'm speaking in a lot grander terms than this particular article, but I'm torn on this because this is a huge deal. But in the same breath, this could be a great catalyst for, hey, DC, get your shit together. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, 14% wage increase sounds quite large until you look at the inflation numbers. I mean, part of the reason I left my former job as a police officer is they quit giving us a 2% wage increase per year. 2%. So now in today's market after COVID, so I'm making a lot less money. And look, like I'm not complaining about my pay. I'm just saying I don't want to make less money to this year than I did last year. I mean, that's fair to ask.
When everything else costs more, right?
Right. With everything else the same, you're giving me 2%. I'm losing money every single year. What do you want me to do? Right. So 14% sounds crazy, but Washington, that's your fault. Deal with it. 14% is fair given the economic price raises.
Yeah.
Pay raises and everything are going up. Why can't theirs come up
Right.
also?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point, Jaime.
Thank you.
I mean, I like that. This is crazy though. I mean, if unionized strike, I think is going to be inevitable. I mean, railways already started securing any sort of toxic or hazardous materials in preparation for this strike. I think it's supposed to happen. Is it this Friday? So they're taking, is that right? Or the 15th?
Yeah. Friday night.
Yeah.
Friday night. So they've already taken steps to secure hazardous materials. So it's not just left abandoned on a railway, right? But what about the cars? What about the gas? What about the oil? What about all these other things that can be potentially just left, right? Yeah. I mean, right now, I think this union has got DC by the balls right now. They're going to get what they want.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way that they can't. I mean, what are they going to do? Right. It's a very precarious situation. And without getting too political, this is just another, like, I guess, point for the Republican Party right now. I mean, there's been so many things that has impacted our wallets at the hands of fiscal policy from this administration. And now it seems as this is like going to be just one more thing. This isn't going to help inflation. This is going to cause things to go up. Energy is going to go up. The cost of goods are going to go up because supply is now low and demand still remains high. So like this is all going to be a huge problem for the Democrats. And
production of goods will be delayed, so it's going to further complicate the slow recovery we've been on anyways to get supplies back in. We're not seeing supply chain times go down by any means, right? If anything, they're still slightly going up. They've not peaked yet and started to come back down. So for what we do, right, we're already seeing lead times over a year for equipment we need. And that means we have to plan so much further in advance. If you look at the data centers and the energy industry for data centers right now, 52 weeks to get a piece of switchgear, 1 year to get a piece of switchgear. So what the big time people have done is they've went up and put buy reservations in and money down for their next 3-4 years worth of expansions that they have planned, right? Well, what's the small guy supposed to do? Because the big guys have already sucked up all the reservations, right? And you try to piecemeal it. So this is only going to make all of that worse. And it's going to be insane.
Yeah.
Guys, if you think every time you drive down the interstate, you see all the big rigs going back and forth, and you're like, damn, that's a lot of trucks. The supplies moved by train is like an artery economy. So the fact that if that stops, regardless of the reasons and everything, if that stops, guys, that's the second shoe after COVID to drop.
It's going to be a 30% drop in to our supply chain. 30%. of our supply chain will be affected by this. A couple of comments here. Don Fran says, burn this market down, but also we're in a zone watching for buyers and shorting any green candles after, but then follows this up with, I didn't realize that Nick worked for the railroad. I feel like I knew that, but maybe I didn't. He said that the railroad contract expires 4 years ago. Hopefully they do strike. Let's hope they strike for Nick's sake. Lord Fenrir, he's a trucker, says the rail strike is a windfall for my company. Bring it on. So yeah, that'll be more work for him. And so one last thing, unions have a lot of employees that exploit it, make them so worthless, which is why I also hate unions. Productivity just always seems to go down whenever unions get implemented. But when it comes to corporate running over people, this part is great. If your union has any balls, yes, 100%. My stepfather is a mail carrier, and his union is absolutely worthless. So
most of them are, and that's the problem. I think the intentions of unions was spot on, great intentions, but my goodness, now they are just, it is a contract to do the minimum and have expectations of more than you probably deserve.
I've been in 2 different companies that have had the union come in, and each time the employees actually lost out between the union dues and the new uniform policy, blah blah blah, they walked away with 5% less in their pocket than they did, signing up. So
yes,
it's been disappointing.
Yeah, their purpose is to protect the worker overall, but in practice, you start seeing they protect the higher seniority. They don't protect productivity. They don't protect the company. There's so many mechanisms in there that just aren't performing as designed. And that's the challenge here. So, of course, wages is a fair thing that should rise.
Yes, and that's a good point. Unions are just breeding grounds for mediocrity. I mean, I watched it. They help elevate people of seniority to positions of decision making and leadership, which most of the time these people do not deserve it. And it's just because it's just based on seniority, they get promoted anyways. The hard workers, the innovators, the people who are pushing forward, they're the ones who get left out of the promotion process. And overall, just morality goes down because unions cater to the weakest link. They cater to the person who's willing to do the least amount, and they reward that person the same they reward a hard worker, a diligent worker. And so what happens is that people that are the good guys, in the guys you want in your corporation or your organization, they get discouraged. They get frustrated by watching Joe Blow over here do the minimum. He sucks all the way around, yet he gets promoted because he got here 6 months before I did, or he gets the same sort of incentives that I do when I've been busting my ass, burning the candle at both ends. Now that's my choice, but I'm going to then choose to remove myself and go to an organization that rewards that sort of hardworking, diligent behavior. And, the people who shouldn't be there, they should get kicked off the bus. But in unionized organizations, that's just not what happens. And what happens is morality goes down and it just goes to shit. It really does.
Guess who gets fired first? Not the hardest worker, new one trying to prove.
Yeah, and you get written up for everything.
Yes.
What is that? What is that?
Yeah.
Speaking from experience. Like, I got written up because I called this chick out one time for doing the minimum, for dumping her bags onto somebody else. I called her out and I get written up. I'm like, what the hell is this shit? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Congratulations, I'm out.
Lord Fenrir hit the nail on the head. Unions serve a purpose 100 years ago, and they really did help protect the worker, the blue collar. Right. But now it's just a wealth transfer. Now within that group, the wealth is going to the lazy top, and all the hard workers are the ones forking out to keep the union running. It's just,
or we just offshore it.
Yes, exactly. So if you're against it, all right, let's go to Mexico, let's go to Vietnam, let's go to China,
Yeah. So a couple of things that I was thinking that we could take a look at to potentially take advantage of for those of you who are investors and want to kind of seize the opportunity a little bit. This is Union Pacific. The stock is down around 2%, which really isn't a big deal. But if this actually goes through on Friday, we could see a lot more volatility here. We have the 50-day moving average all the way down at 223. I think that there's potential for this to come down and test that level. It looks to be a technical level there as well. So Union Pacific could be something to take advantage of. And the reason why I say this, and I'm looking at Union Pacific as an opportunity to go long on, because if we do see this come down, I think that it won't be long before the buyers start to swoop in, because in my opinion, I think the initial knee-jerk reaction will be to see a sell-off because of the strike if it goes through. But I would imagine that it would not take long for a negotiation to take place. So we could see some volatility in things like Union Pacific, CSX trains could be the other one. And we've seen that one not have this a similar move to Union Pacific, but this is also one at least that's worthwhile taking a look at. You can also look at the
Look
trucking.
at BNSF.
Okay,
That's Buffett's, I think.
NSF.
Yeah, Berkshire. BNS.
Yeah.
BNSF.
Yes,
Railways.
it is BNSF. You're right. Yeah.
There it is.
This is Bank of Nova Scotia.
Oh.
BN
That should be under
I was
this.
going to say, damn, for Warren buying up all the energy companies, he forgot about his own damn chart.
Oh, yeah, because I'm an idiot. Maybe I'm an idiot. Where's it
Yeah,
at?
while you're looking that up too, Don says that plus quote strike is over news will be a pop for a chart. So if you can get ahead of this
Exactly.
up until Friday, like what Brad's talking about, and while he's looking for the chart, that's why if you know what you're doing on this, you can play the news, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Buy the rumor, sell the news. That's why they say it exactly what Don's talking about. So buy the rumor, freak out, FUD that when it's low, and then you sell the news. And the news is usually when charts pop and people are excited about it and start buying it. You're just riding that up since you were ahead of all of it.
And that's the beauty of doing your own research, which literally what you just mentioned. We know this is an artery to the economy.
Yeah.
This cannot remain low. Just like we know Bitcoin's purpose towards the future. We're at the bottom waiting. All right, guys, come on. I got my buys right here. Let's move forward. Let's enter it. Same thing with this type of industry.
yeah.
If it has the volume.
I'm also curious. I'm looking at GXO right now. I'm sorry, XPO right now, which is down 4%. And I think this is probably more of a reaction to what was going on with CPI than it is anything else. But if the union strike does go through, I think that, and I would love to get Don's opinions on this too, if he wants to chime in here. I would be wondering if the trucking business actually ends up going up as a result, because that's where all the business is going to be coming to. Lord Fenrir said he's a fossil fuel relocation expert. I think that this is going to be interesting to see if the strike goes through. I think something like XPO or Old Dominion or JB Hunt could also have some upside potential here because of that. So I think these are some areas that I would be certainly be taking a look at.
Yep. And he answered you.
Oh, here you go. Don said, if you want to hold a railroad, Kansas City Southern. That's not biased or anything.
Exactly. I mean, KC, talk about KC.
Yeah. Always runs a skeleton crew and keeps production, which is why other railroads are trying to buy it. Yeah, they are trying to buy it. That's for sure. So great discussion. I think that that's something that is going to be, that we're probably going to continue to talk about all week long. Two major things happened today, and it is just like I said, every time you think that you don't have something to talk about, some crazy shit happens.
Absolutely.
It's just
Random Tuesday.
music to my ears, because it's like, oh man, I'm always struggling sometimes to find something to talk about. But and I'm like,
Between
yes.
this strike and the ETH merge, the rest of the week's going to be interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what else is interesting? Starbucks is leveraging Polygon for a Web3 push. The coffee house chain is to issue NFT stamps. Listen, I understand, and I know that there's going to be value in some NFTs, but this, you have to really sell me on this. I don't understand why there's going to be value for Starbucks NFTs. Somebody help me out here. Tamp, you're the one that kind of brought this article to light, and I kind of followed up with it. So you have the floor for this one.
Well, just with this one, the most inspiring thing to me about all this, because I do understand where you're coming from, Brad, is that they used Polygon to do it instead of defaulting to ETH. Polygon's a really good chain. It is a DeFi chain. I don't think it's the best one, but it's certainly up there, right? So I was happy about the use of Polygon in the proof of stake. Of course, Starbucks is going to use proof of stake because they're just going to plug the environmental aspect of it, which is what they do. So I'm not going to hate on them for being who they are. So I'm not mad at them for that. But the point of this article isn't so much about, hey, buy this NFT and this is really cool. It's more just about the overall NFT use adoption happening. And Brad, to answer your question directly, NFTs right now are starting to replace loyalty programs. So that's where you and I can really focus on NFTs in their current, very immature state as a point of understanding. It's basically loyalty. And with these NFTs, they can get you access to exclusive things like very high reward program points can get you access to like free online classes of how you can make espresso martinis and different things like that if you hold certain NFTs. Some NFTs can get you perks at the Starbucks Reserves locations, which I don't know if anybody's ever been to one of those, but I went to my very first one ever at the Domain in Austin about a month ago, and they are unbelievable. I can't stand Starbucks coffee. They're black coffee. There's nothing but black coffee in this bad boy. That is it. No cream, no sugar.
Same.
And I cannot drink Starbucks coffee. But I went into that Reserve location because it was right across the street, and I can absolutely drink their Reserve black coffee. It's very good. But that aside, go ahead.
No Baileys?
I will.
No Bailey's in it right now.
First of all, if Peter Saddington is listening to this show this morning, you just hurt his soul.
I know.
Second of all,
I know. He goes to Starbucks for convenience, though. Even he will say it's not the best. It's the environment. And and I know we're getting off topic, but that's part of Starbucks thing is their third home, right? They want to be the place in between work and home, right? Yeah. And that's why they do things the way they do, which is cool. Like there's a lot to admire about Starbucks from a business perspective. Some of their policies are up for debate, but it is what it is, right? Like I'm not going to hate on Starbucks for standing true to who they are. I might not agree with you, but you are who you are, you're predictable, and I can appreciate that, right? Even if I don't agree with it. So that being said, you can also get access to their actual farm in Costa Rica if you hold some of these NFTs. So again, yeah, right? So the NFT is not only loyalty, but it's exposure, it's access, it's a way to further, in a good way, differentiate their customer base as to, how do we treat this block of customers that are willing to get these NFTs to try to go to Costa Rica versus the ones that are like either I don't care or I'll just get the NFT when I get my cup of coffee. They gave it to me. You want to treat those customers completely different, right? I mean, it's just business. So it's a good way to learn more about your current customer base, as well as appeal to the millennial generation who's more in tune with the crypto world and this NFT process. So I think it's smart on Starbucks. Worth noting on these is that you don't need to hold a cryptocurrency wallet or have crypto to buy them. You simply buy the NFTs through your credit card when you purchase things. You can go on their app and purchase your NFTs through your credit card, and that the program is not up and running yet. It's just their intention. I think it's called Starbucks Odyssey, if I remember correctly. But it's just, again, the main reason I brought it up is just a further adoption use case by a major corporate company, and a lot more are going to follow. I mean, in fact, everyone's going to follow, right? Some corporation had to be the first one to use email and the internet and online stuff. So everybody else will follow in terms of NFT use.
So McDonald's will be next. Is that what you're saying?
Somebody will. Yeah. I mean, why would they not? Again, it's technology, it's innovation, it's further understanding, it's what people want. Why they'd be silly not to, right? I mean, shit, even Sears eventually gave into the credit card. They were like the last one. They thought the credit card was the worst thing in the world that could happen to America is credit. And they eventually had to start offering credit. Otherwise, they were going to go under, which, I mean, they basically did anyways, but they were last to the table. Where are they now? Right?
Right. Yep.
Right.
And the NFT is literally leveling up the rewards program, like truly.
Yep.
They also have farms in Guatemala, Antigua, Guatemala, and we've actually visited them. So creating this access, it's the reason. Why do you buy a bag that just says LV? It comes with this thing. Starbucks
Status.
and Starbucks being the leader in creating this. And here's the beautiful thing that they are accomplishing here: crypto adoption without the users realizing they're in crypto.
Yeah.
So, for
Right.
example, your NFT is going to be on the Polygon chain, which is, if you look it up on any of your trading applications, Matic, MATIC. And you will see as Starbucks deploys, you'll see the results because there is now a real use case for that chain. There's many use cases, but this one being one of the big ones. So it levels up I remember having the app, the gold card on the cell phone. Now imagine I have an NFT, a non-fungible pass that I can give off to my best friend. I have 2 of them now. Here's one for you.
Yeah.
Now you gain access to what I have. So it really changes the game, or expands the game of rewards programs.
You're
I
dead
think
on.
I think it's phenomenal with the entry point, right? Of I'm using my credit card. I don't have to have a crypto wallet. I don't have to do anything extra to set this up, right? I'm just using my card same way I'd swipe it anywhere else. So I think that's probably going to be a key differentiator moving forward in that, right? And I wouldn't be surprised to see the other ones, follow suit with that style.
No doubt. And I mean, that's the main thing that this space needs, and the cryptocurrency space needs, is better front end, user interfaces, so that you don't even realize you're dealing with cryptocurrency, because you're just using your credit card as you always do. You think you purchased an NFT with your credit card. You really did purchase it though on the back end through the Polygon network, right? And that's exactly what Jaime was saying. And that's a really big deal. I mean, and look at the success of these sort of things. You're like, oh, why would I want a little JPEG of a coffee cup or whatever their NFTs are? I have no idea what they are. But look at the success of things like Pokemon Go. That does not make any sense to me whatsoever. But that craze happened when I was a police officer, and I cannot tell you the number of suspicious person calls and suspicious vehicle calls that we had to answer, that when we arrived there were simply kids playing Pokemon. And I say kids, they're college age kids. They're young adults playing Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
And things like Beanie Babies and all these other like electronic crypto kitty type things. They're a massive success, whether our boomer generation agrees with it or not. This is the future. Either hop on board, figure it out, or get left behind.
Yes, and they have so many assets they could use as NFTs, like the cups from every city on the planet that exists today. They can start that same system as an NFT. Oh, I was born in this country. I'll buy that. I want that NFT right there that's labeled, Starbucks.
Yeah.
So it's just a very powerful tool to level up the rewards program, because now not only are you a member, you can actually show someone, hey, here's mine.
Do you guys remember McDonald's Monopoly, the scratch off Monopoly game?
Yeah, the rigged game. Yeah.
Dude, rigged or not, our family was obsessed, right? Like we wouldn't even want McDonald's, but we would go.
Yeah,
right.
yes.
And that's just an analog version of what's happening now. It's just a matter of time before corporations start incorporating gamified NFTs. They're already doing it, right? But the McDonald's Monopoly game is one that comes to my mind that was
I got
ahead of
100
its
Park
time.
Place. I'm just waiting on that boardwalk. It's
Yeah,
next, I'm telling you.
exactly. Exactly. You don't even want McDonald's, but you go buy a coffee or a drink or a Frosty or something, or not a Frosty, but like a soft serve something, just to get one scratch off piece, right? And it's the same mentality. So Brad, like that's the use case. That's the drive of NFTs right now. It's all down to customer loyalty right now. It's just the future of it.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I mean, I stopped paying for any Starbucks whenever I go with my card. I use this, and I just scan it and go. So I mean, that makes sense. The use case part of it does make sense. I guess the way that I read this article was kind of like, oh, it probably wrongly so, was that it was like, oh, you're really getting some true value out of these NFTs, but the loyalty program side of it makes a lot more sense than something like that.
That's why we love that we're together in this whole journey.
Yeah.
You came from the traditional markets. We're in it. How do we bridge all this so all our viewers can enjoy and discover together how all this works and why it's not a scam? It's an actual use case that helps society and the economy grow.
Yeah, and you nailed it. What's crazy is my mom, she watches this show, of course. Like, shout out to my mom, love you. She watches the show. And
I
she
need
knows.
to shout out to your mom too.
Hey, easy. But Like the thing is, like she doesn't know crypto. She knows I do crypto. She always asks me like, "Hey, did you get an airdrop today?" You know, like she doesn't get it. But we had a conversation yesterday where I told her, "Mom, just keep watching the show," because she says there's so much that you guys talk about that's over my head. I don't understand it. I said, if you just keep watching, you're going to learn something, right? You're going to figure something out in your just regular mom world. And we had a talk yesterday about the show, and she said, I understood every single thing y'all talked about. It was so fun to listen to you guys and talk about this, that, and the other. And it's not because we're doing anything earth shattering. It's just she has a reason to be in the space, immerse herself in the space. And as you do that, you'll figure it out, right? Like all of a sudden, a word you had no idea what that was at the beginning starts making sense to you because of a frame of reference now. And so shout out, to my mom for understanding and learning and just stay in the game. And that's where we all are as a society. Just keep getting it thrown in your face until you understand. Sometimes that can backfire, but in this case, this is good. Like you just got to understand.
It worked for the internet. It will work.
It's got to.
Yeah. Now we all use it without even realizing
the
struggle it had at the beginning. And by the way, what airdrops did you get, Tim, today?
Off the Cosmos ecosystem? All of them. That's why I'm in it. The Cosmos, we need to do a full damn show about the Cosmos ecosystem, which is why I said I like Polygon. It's right there. It's close to Cosmos. It's not right there though. It's my number 2, but it is a good network. It's solid.
And I think what we'll do is expand into every platform, because each one of us are going to discover certain platforms. We're like, ooh, this one has a real use case based on our own history and our own knowledge. So
sure.
Yes,
it's going to hit you, like just like we talked about passionately yesterday, like different regulations, they can be good or bad depending on what side of the political spectrum you might lie on. Like it's going to hit at some point where a topic you care about is going to immerse you, whether it's into NFTs or cryptocurrency use or Bitcoin use somewhere. And that will be the moment that you care, right? You have something that brings you in and you take a little deep dive, and that leads to a step closer and closer to the rabbit hole that you ultimately fall into and you can't get out of, which is again, why Michael Saylor is correct. If you spend time in understanding Bitcoin and money and what it is inevitable that you will own Bitcoin. You can't know what the hell Bitcoin is and not get it. It doesn't make sense logically, right? The only way you could do that is if you're in the government and you know the exact logical, framework, and then you do the fucking opposite, right? Like that's government. But for most regular people, if you just have a reason to get in, whether it's a Starbucks NFT or you need a place to put your money that isn't gold, you'll get in.
Perfect. Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And that's all we want, is to share that knowledge so we can make decisions, informed decisions.
Jason Campbell, Dr. J, chiming in, says you have an airdrop waiting for you. I just haven't told you about it. I'll tell you how to claim it after the show. It's Cosmos based.
You can also go to our Cosmos thread on the Discord channel, our Metafy Discord channel. I'm in the Cosmos Atom thread nonstop. So if you have any questions about that chain in particular, then feel free to hop in our Discord and we can talk, because I talk a lot there. I talk to Boss Don there a lot. I talk to quite a few people in there.
Which, by the way, you can find by clicking on the links down below in the description. You can also go to themetafy.co and find all of those links there. We'd love to have you guys as a part of the community. It is absolutely free to be a part of all of that as well. So you really don't have anything to lose there. Go hang out with Tamp and the rest of us over at our Discord. We would love to have you guys hang out. A couple other comments here. Lord Fenrir said we have a few in the group that refuse to learn, meaning the Own the Chaos group. That refuse to learn anything about it. Okay, have fun being left behind. You ain't growing. Yeah, and
well said.
I'm in that same boat, right? Like, and Lord Fenrir and I, we talk all of the time. We're pretty close, and it took me a while. I think it was more along the lines of I just felt like I didn't have time to learn it, right? And I think it wasn't that I didn't want to learn it. I just didn't have the time. But it's certainly amazing and fun, and I find myself becoming more and more passionate about it the more that I learn about it. So that is absolutely true. I think just not being closed off to it is only going to hurt you and not really anybody else. Don Franz says car prices keep going up at dealerships. Eventually I'll only have to be able to buy the NFT of the car. Pretty much.
Yes.
Which, hey, by the way, is just a little bit of insider knowledge here. That's what I'm going to be doing. If you guys haven't been keeping track of what I got going on over Own the Chaos, I've communicated this with our community a little bit, which, by the way, you can go follow me at ownthechaos.com, or you go follow me at Own the Chaos at Twitter or on YouTube. Would love to have you guys as part of the afternoon show too. But I'm actually building a media company that involves taking photos and building NFTs around exotic cars, because the exotic car crowd here in Mooresville, North Carolina is absolutely insane. So I'm super excited about that. So Don, you can just buy my NFT and you'll be happy.
Well, I think car manufacturers, just like the internet has its purpose, an NFT is non-fungible, meaning you can't make more of it. So what are things, real world things that are you can't make more of it is the title of your car, for example. At some point when you go buy in the future, mark my words, you can go to the dealership and they will transfer from the manufacturer's blockchain to your wallet. Here's your car title. And that is your NFT, which represents your ownership of this vehicle, this analog that you're driving.
Yeah.
That's what NFT's function is.
Shout out to Val.
Greg, you're not allowed to read this and not comment at all.
I'm assuming she packed my package.
Yeah, she probably did. Yep.
So that's where my
WacoCBD.com.
shout outs will come.
There is.
From.
Oh yeah, you can feel free to send all that stuff up, Miss Val.
Oh yeah.
She probably hates that. Does she hate being called Val?
No, that's what she prefers. Her real name.
Okay, good. Just took it upon myself to shorten her name.
Yeah, no. Val is who it is.
Perfect. All right. So I would like I don't know if there's anything else that I really want to address. What was there anything in particular?
Goldman Sachs, just because we've talked about it in the past.
Okay.
So for the
Just
record, as you
throw it out.
open this up, one of the theories we had when Goldman Sachs says everyone's coming back to the office, let's support the local community, the local pizzeria, the local things. Well,
100% bullshit.
that fucking backfired.
Yep.
So here it is. This is a article that came out from the New York Post just yesterday. Goldman Sachs preparing to lay off across all departments as soon as next week.
Good God.
And so just it is hilarious. Hey, everybody, come back into the office so we can just fire you. I know. This is essentially what's happening here.
It's an HR.
Yeah, they took away all these they took away the coffee, they took away all this stuff. And at the very end of the article, like this is crazy, right? Like at the very end of the article, if you want to like scroll to the bottom, it basically says you shouldn't need coffee or increase per diem, because they increased their per diem from $25 to $30. You shouldn't need free coffee. You shouldn't need per diem to come back into the office. The threat of being fired should be incentive enough, basically is what they said. And like, damn, like, I don't care how leather of a person you are. Screw these guys. I don't want to work for you. Like, you can kiss my ass. I mean, for real, you're acting like I need you, Goldman, instead of the other way around. Bitch, you need me. And so they get everybody back into the office just to take everything away and fire them. I mean, just stay home. If you're going to fire me, I'll keep my ass at home. I'm not coming back in for that. Come on.
Yeah,
man.
it is corporate America at its finest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally what Goldman's doing at this point.
Soulless, man. And
This is dinosaur leadership, man. I mean,
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so I promise you at Medify, we will always supply coffee. Okay.
yeah, damn
Don't worry
right.
about that.
And
We'll
all
always
the
have
sweeteners
coffee.
that you want.
yes, and
Yep.
if we do fire you, it'll be remotely. You don't have to come to the office.
We won't call you in early on a Monday morning to fire you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the problem again. Like just with certain leadership, it's not that your employees suck or they're snowflakes or whatever. It's that you suck as a leader. Again, you think that I need you instead of the other way around, and all it's going to lead to is people getting pissed.
Fucking Brandon is cracking me up,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs- Goldman
Nutsack.
Sachs is not sex.
Timestamp.
I'm loving that. That is great.
And here's the sad part. My brother-in-law worked for them up until recently. Thank God he moved on. But they worked their fucking ass off.
Oh my God.
Like-
the demand that they require from their employees is
Oh my
absolutely.
God.
I thought it was bad at T-Row.
Yeah.
No.
Nah, it's like he was actually working with another team out in Bangalore and his team, and it was just insane what they were competing against each other, and they would pit, the management would pitch each team against each other. So everyone's trying to catch up during their daylight. One, they go to sleep. The next team's trying to race against them, but they would have tours where there were others staying awake to try to stay ahead of this group. Like, it was nonstop. We barely saw him at parties. I mean, I've never seen him work as hard until he started working here. Most people are using Goldman Sachs as a stepping stone to their ultimate goal because it's just a grind. And it's almost like the soulless are the ones that survive into partner.
Well, and you know what that's true. The soulless are the ones that survive in the partner. Yeah, but and they pay well. You know, you get a good yearly salary. It's really good. But when you compare it to the amount of hours you're working, you're getting paid minimum wage.
Divided by hours, you're there. With
Yeah.
bricklayer.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then
Dinosaurs make it, or the ones that have the most shit on the upper execs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's how it was at where I formerly worked. Like there's cops that did all kind of weird stuff and needed to be fired 100 times over, but they always skirted it. And you're like, what does this sucker have on our ACs, our assistant chiefs, that allows him to stay? What are we doing?
You
Yeah.
remember that video?
Yeah.
Yeah, bitch, you got arrested. You got arrested and you're still here. Yeah, you want to talk to me? Get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Be above reproach if you're going to come at me. Come
Here-
on.
Darren Anderson says, I will never go back to the brick and mortar. My wife and I both work from home and love it. Corporate America is old school. And Darren is a boomer himself.
go, Darren.
So
I'm with you.
appreciate that, my man. So for a little bit of a backstory, in case anybody who's watching doesn't know, I used to work for T. Rowe Price. Work environment was nothing like Goldman Sachs. It was still corporate America, and you still had to climb the ladder and suck the right dicks, which I was not willing to do, which is
Be
why I'm
good.
here. But you know,
Weren't willing to do or weren't doing well, which is the
First claim the wrong product to suck. Go.
that's
Back on track. Keep going.
all,
the
all
audience
fair,
needs to
all
know.
fair points. All fair points. I was willing, you know, the right
20
one.
bucks is $20.
$20. Yeah.
$20.
$20. $20.
Yeah.
Steve, $20 is $20.
Yeah.
Bring it back in, God. Bring it back in.
Right. But instead of being forced to suck the dicks that I don't want to suck, I can just suck the ones that I want to, and then when we're good now. Now that I'm working,
Look at the smile on Jaime's face.
Jesus Christ, this show sucks.
Yeah. You can unsubscribe.
Shit, maybe there is Bailey's in here. I forget. I don't know.
Oh, Miss Val sending you that shit, that good ganja.
Yeah. Good God.
All right, so that's gonna do it for today's show, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. Once again, go check out the links down in the description. Come be a part of our Discord group. It's absolutely free to join. We're having a good time in there too. If you guys enjoyed today's show, you're gonna love it in there. So hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bells. We'll be back at it again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern time. And other than that, come check me out on the Chaos as well. I'll be live at 3:45 this afternoon to cover everything that's been going on. Just one last quick look at the markets, and the Dow's now down 657 points after the markets opened. We've seen a little bit of a bounce back. It's 571. The S&P is down 2%. NASDAQ is down 3%, getting absolutely crushed. Checking in on Bitcoin, and that is also getting crushed now, down 4 1/3%. Going to be a rough day out there, guys. I'll see you this afternoon.
Have a good one.
Stay salty.
See you tomorrow.
Boom,
Have a
baby.
good